Hello and welcome back to Leeds United, but not with me in charge. I've retired. I meant to just resign, but I retired, and it's been a year, so let's see how they've gotten on without me. Now, I will just say I've had a quick nosy around. There's probably still a few surprises in here, but I've had a quick nosy around just to see the general gist of things before we dive in deep. Well, the answer is they were second. So Manchester City are back for the first time in several years, considering Liverpool's dominance. Liverpool really dropped off 63 points that year after bottling it the year before. 2 90-point seasons in a row, and suddenly they've absolutely bottled it. They were 87 in 22-23 as well. So hovering in the high 80s and then 90s, 87 and again lost them the title. And a very low scoring year, considering that 89 was the lowest, and we got the title of lowest points title. 81 has definitely taken that off us. So that does imply that points were much more easily spread around, and it does look Liverpool downwards, quite frankly, very tight there. Liverpool on 63 points in fourth, and well, we'll go to Wolves in 10th on 53 points, just 10 points behind. So that pack very tight. Everton obviously not keeping up with things with their money. Once again, obviously spending massively, but not capitalising. They bought a player called Quentin Merlin, which is a fantastic name. If he's a new gen, he's not a new gen. He's just a fantastic name and seems to be okay, actually, as a left-back. I'll keep him in mind going forward. But the big one there is Jean-Claire Todibo. Sure, he's very good. But we're not here for Everton. Can we just point out the fact that Spurs were 6th and didn't get European football, and Newcastle were 13th and did? So I'm guessing Carabao Cup for Newcastle, and well, there's 4 UCLs here. So somebody won a Europa League, and then Chelsea probably just... Well, Chelsea must have won a cup as well, because Chelsea won the FA Cup final, and that probably means Newcastle. I just saw they lost in the semi-finals to Newcastle. Martinez is in charge of Newcastle. This feels weird. Absolutely bowled the end of the season, but did indeed win the Carabao Cup final against Crystal Palace. So despite finishing 13th and utterly bottling the end of the season, 2 points in the last 12 points available means that only the top 5 through the league get something, and one of these 4 has won a Europa League. That's probably already happened. And it's Man United that won the Europa League against Cologne, so that's why there's 5 Champions Leaguers. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to see what's happened to Leeds. I can show you the manager. I can't show you the formation without spoilers. I did have a quick nosy at the transfers, and weirdly, the new manager's done effectively the same plan that I would have done in the last transfer window. Accounting for the inevitable formation change, the transfer dealings are remarkably sensible. This is the man that's taken over, though, Roger Schmidt. There's no spoilers on key personnel, which is why I was happy for that. Benfica manager, possibly in real life, depending on when he took over there. And yes, he is Benfica manager at the start of the game. Apparently the man to take over the Premier League champions. Sure. He's not great. Did win the Community Shield, though, against Chelsea. Yeah, not fully certain why he took over. I'm just going to move over to the left, just because that way I'm not blocking any transfers. It was mostly loans I was blocking, loans of young players. But, yeah. And it's at this point I should explain... He's playing a 4-4-2, so that explains the acquisition of David Neres. I did see in the simulation very early on they put in a bid for Cody Gakpo, which clearly didn't materialise as an actual transfer in the end. But Neres from Benfica was obviously that backup. Gosens was a free that I'd already arranged. Thiago Santos is a right back, which was what I was going to focus on, because I'd realised Livramento wasn't really going to be much better than he already was, so a right-back was my priority in that next window. And actually, he would have very much fit the bill, this Thiago Santos. A lot of money, but he obviously would have played the wing-back right that we played, playing as a normal right-back in this case, but I don't know why all the extra tabs are career stats, by the way. I guess it doesn't remember what I like as a brand new manager that I've had to add back into the game. He's done very well, and I presume he's played right-back. 40 million is not bad for a right-back at that kind of level of football. And yeah, the big one, Milinkovic-Savic, which would have been my second priority. Not SMS specifically, and I probably wouldn't have gone for SMS on the basis he is 32. I suppose he'd been 31 at the time of acquisition. But yeah, my plan was to switch to the 3 midfielder version as the primary version of the formation we were using, and with the 2 strikers. So I would have sold a striker, and they've sold the one I would have sold as well. So... it's weirdly tallied. I mean, obviously he's world-class and very, 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 very good. I was targeting Bellingham, quite frankly. So actually he might have been my priority, because probably would have been forced into his release fee of 105 million. So if I could have raised the funds, I would have gone Bellingham and maybe stuck it out with the right backs we had. Because bear in mind, we have got Gottschling, so he would have been the primary one anyway. But you can see, to facilitate a 4-4-2, which of course is 2 midfielders still, Tyler Adams made way and Joel Linton went out on loan. I would have only made one of those 2 moves, having switched to a 3 midfielders if I'd brought in someone like SMS or Bellingham or another world-class midfielder. But they did sell Gomez, which, like I say, was probably the one I was going to sell. Reasonable fee, good profit. As good as he was the first season, he wasn't quite as good the second season, and kind of was the lowest star rating as well out of the 5 strikers we had. Reducing that to a 2-striker system means 4 active strikers is what you'd want, 2 starting, 2 backup. And Nketiah was homegrown. So between Moukoko, Milovanovic and Pedro, they're kind of your 3 starting ones with Nketiah as your 4th backup. And then you'd have a 5th youngster sort of knocking around either Perkins, who went out on loan, or this Corbelan lad who came in at the end of the year and then went back out on loan. But they loaned out Albanaz, of course, they brought in a right back, so I'm not surprised they loaned out Albanaz, absolutely butchering any homegrown capabilities of this lot. And unfortunately, Pascal Strike was also a casualty. Now, I wouldn't have sold Strike just on the basis he was homegrown Leeds. I would have sold one of the other 2 homegrown if I was forced into a defensive sale, but I could sort of see why the AI's done it. His middle name was Augustus. Didn't know that. What a middle name. So as much as I'd like to say, look how they've massacred my boys, it's been kind of weirdly sensible. Even Archie Gray has been in and around the squad, 19 substitute appearances. I was planning to do that as well. Like I say, planning to get in one midfielder who would play week in, week out, just to complete the trio of Szoboszlai, Almada and someone else, like a world-class box-to-boxer to go alongside those 2. And then I would have had Archie Gray, would have had Joel Linton or Tyler Adams, depending on which one made way, and I would have had Aouar. So they were all available. I can see that Skov's got a transfer arranged. I guess he's been the casualty in this season. 3 starts, 29 substitute appearances. Got to remember, of course, they are playing regular left wingers as well and regular right wingers. So some of the fullbacks might cover those positions. So Valeri clearly playing left back. Pedro's playing left wing. I mean, I guess to facilitate Milovanovic and Moukoko up front, that's not the worst idea. He's played 54 games in total this year, Pedro. 24 goals for him, 22 goals for Milovanovic and 23 goals for Moukoko. It's worked out. Only 8 for Neres on the other side, 9 for Milinkovic-Savic, and Almada's got 6. It does appear that Szoboszlai's had a bit of a reduced season, though, despite being the best player in world football. He's got 175 grand new deal. I leave and they go absolutely crazy with the wages. I mean, I don't begrudge him a new contract after that season. Come on. Karnasecchi's on 105 grand. Milovanovic on 125. Mokoko's on 107. What have they done to the wage structure? Is Valeri on a new deal? Did I sign him on 125 grand? No, Valeri's on a new deal, signed literally a week ago or 2. Good, because I was pretty certain I hadn't gone like crazy. I think Milenkovic was the highest earner I'd ever signed on 100. Nonto's weirdly available for £0. I think it's because he's out of contract at the end of the year. But at least Karnasecchi is finally worth money. That's the one good thing I could see out of this. Obviously on a new contract as well, signed last summer. But they've absolutely blown the wage structure to smithereens. Andre Santos down here still on 25 grand a week. Out of contract at the end of the year, and they've not re-signed him, clearly. Interesting. But Julian Ord's still there. He might have been sold by me. Like, I would have probably kept Gosens around and sold Julian Ord as the backup there, since he wasn't going to get any better. So it would have been Valerian, Gosens and Skov at left back. And then there's Detlev on the right, who can play obviously right back and right wing as we trained him to do, without being the same manager. It's hard to tell how much he's actually developed, but he does look pretty strong still 1 year further on. Still on his original contract. 44 grand seems laughable compared to everyone else. But looking at their schedule, Champions League, of course, again, having won the Premier League, they started that campaign by losing to Real Madrid. As much as some things change, some things stay the same. Bloody hell. That's bizarre. I mean, they lost to Norwich early on. That sets the scene, doesn't it? Lewis Cook and Josh Sargent with 2 goals. Lost to Leicester. Drew at Brentford, lost to Liverpool. That one's slightly less weird. Although an 84th Ben Doak goal. Talis Magno for Newcastle scored a penalty to win there. Welcome back, Talis Magno. Lost to Spurs. Cole Palmer on that score sheet along with Hendrick. Lost to Chelsea 3-0 at home. That's, I think, the first home loss. But that's disappointing. 3 goals in the first 20 minutes. Losing to Arsenal again. I think they lost to Arsenal twice, actually. Maybe first home loss in the league. Bottled that one. 80th minute, 89th minute. Lost to Brentford. Brentford are the nemesis again then, it looks like. drawn at home and lost away, and then actually had a ridiculously strong January onwards. Apart from losing in the FA Cup 5th round to Chelsea, 3-0 again, and getting knocked out by Barcelona in the Champions League round of 16. Notably, they didn't get through in the first 8 because they played Marseille here as well, triumphing over 2 legs quite comfortably, actually, despite a sending off to Bakoko, of all people. Milankovic was sent off in the home leg against Barcelona, which they won, but then they got smashed away 3-1 in the first 30 minutes, pretty much. Yeah, then had a very good, strong end of season, beating Spurs, drawing away at Man City, drawing away at Man United, away at Wolves. Basically winning all the home games and drawing most of the away ones. They did beat Chelsea away from home there, snuck that one in between. Stoke were promoted, by the way. Beat Manchester City at home, still seemingly doing quite well against Manchester City like we did the year before. Just Arsenal proving particular problems, Real Madrid proving a particular problem, and Brentford again. Just trying to see where they ended up. Behind Everton is a bit disappointing in the Champions League. All 5 English teams were through, though. Dortmund failed. Shout out to Apollon Limassol, by the way. Cypriot team there. Didn't win a single game. Lost them better than Slovan Bratislava did. But nice to see a Cypriot team make it. And Panathinaikos too. Good to see them back as well. You may have noticed on Wednesday I did drop the Checha Builder Nation save. If you've not watched that, go watch it now. It'll probably be linked in the description below. That's the Twitch save as well, so follow me on Twitch over there. I had considered Panathinaikos as a Builder Nation save as well. May still happen at some point in the future, but for now we're doing Party Beach Say along with Checha. I've also considered Cypriot teams for that. In fact, I started one last year, but real life got in the way. But yes, I'm not sure there's really anything else to discuss in regards to the Leeds here. A surprising manager with a surprising 4-4-2, kinda really sensible transfers. Will wonders never cease? I mean, it's quite nice to actually be speaking positively about Football Manager for once. It's a shame they couldn't just win the league again though. Who knows, maybe if we simulate a little bit further down, and we may do that at some point, but it will not be the next video on this channel. The next video on this channel will be on Monday and be something a little bit different. It's not another recap for Party Beats Say, that will come later next week. On Monday, a brand new series in a brand new format for me. I do hope you do check it out. Thank you for joining me on this Leeds save. Obviously, I said that at the end of the sort of actual videos for that, but it has been an incredible experience, this Leeds save. At the time of recording, I'm pretty certain the first video in the Leeds series is very, as in under 100 views, possibly under 50 views at this point, away from being the most viewed video on this channel, which is ridiculous because the game only came out 3 months ago and it's already got more views than a series that came out over 2 years ago. You lot have been incredible. Thank you again. And actually, thank you FM for not absolutely butchering my team for once when I simulate forward. I suppose if I give it a few more years, they will do. Anyway, thank you for watching. Ta-ra.